Loud moans filled the luxurious apartment overlooking the glittering city skyline. A woman's passionate cries echoed through the night. Clothes were strewn across the bedroom floor in the aftermath of intense intimacy. A discarded condom wrapper lay near the bed as the moans continued. Tegan clung tightly to the muscular blonde man beneath her. He groaned her name loudly as he climaxed dramatically. Lying beside her afterward, exhausted, he proudly declared, "That was amazing." Tegan let out a quiet sigh. "Do you really think so?" she asked. She admitted she had been close, but still not fully satisfied. The blonde man, Lenny, looked embarrassed and quickly apologized. Tegan forced an awkward smile. She looked at him calmly, carefully choosing her next words. "There are other ways you could help satisfy me," she suggested gently. Sitting face to face on the bed, Tegan tried explaining her idea seriously. Lenny reacted with immediate disgust. "That's gross," he said loudly. "It's way too much effort." He turned his back on her, refusing even to consider it. Tegan sat in silence, thinking that Lenny only seemed perfect on paper. As he stood and confidently pulled up his shorts, showing off his toned body, she felt deeply disappointed. She compared him to a flashy bag of chips, all promise but mostly empty air once opened. Trying again, she asked if they could try toys or other methods. Lenny immediately shut her down. "You don't need any of that," he said arrogantly. "I should be enough for you." Tegan finally admitted the truth. This relationship isn't working anymore. She sat alone under the blanket, emotionally preparing herself for the breakup. Shocked, Lenny demanded to know why she wanted to leave. Tegan struggled to speak through her emotions. She told him something important was missing between them. Even though she still cared about him deeply, she finally exploded. "You've never satisfied me. Not once. In 5 months." Frustrated and hurt, she let out everything she had been holding back. Lenny defended himself, insisting he was trying his best. Tegan laughed sarcastically. "You rejected every single suggestion I made." Lenny crossed his arms, claiming her accusations were unfair. He blamed her for expecting too much. Tegan stared at him in disbelief, then mocked how he wasted both his intelligence and his perfect body. Lenny arrogantly asked if she was really ending everything over bad sex. He laughed like her disappointment was ridiculous. Tegan smirked coldly. "Disappointment is exactly what I feel every time we sleep together." Calmly and confidently, she announced she was leaving him for good. Lenny silently grabbed his clothes and stormed out. The apartment fell into heavy silence. Tegan fell back onto the bed, laughing softly in relief. "Thank God," she whispered. The scene shifted to a glamorous high society party filled with wealthy guests. Someone mentioned they were shocked Tegan and Lenny had broken up. A blonde woman said, "Everyone thought Tegan got so lucky landing a guy like Lenny." Offended, Tegan asked sharply, "What do you mean, a guy like me?" Standing elegantly in her black dress, Tegan felt isolated among the crowd. The blonde awkwardly explained that Lenny was considered a perfect catch. Tegan held her wine glass tightly and muttered sarcastically, "You have no idea." She walked away from the conversation. She reflected that breaking up right at the start of the social season was terrible timing. Standing alone with her wine, she watched the wealthy guests mingle and admitted she had always felt painfully out of place in these circles. Childhood memories flooded back, young Tegan nervously walking through elegant halls during formal events. She remembered the blessing of being adopted by parents who truly wanted her, but also the pressure of constantly having to prove she belonged. Even as a child, she felt the weight of judgmental eyes and the need to behave perfectly. Years later, adult Tegan still carried those same feelings of not truly belonging. At the party, she noticed a familiar man staring at her from across the room, Heath. After greeting her old friend group, Tegan realized everyone had brought a date except her. Her eyes landed on Heath. He smirked and welcomed her teasingly, calling her princess for arriving late. Annoyed, Tegan told him to shut up, though deep down she hated how he always got under her skin. When someone asked about her muscular lawyer boyfriend, Tegan casually revealed they had broken up. The group was shocked, expecting an engagement soon. Feeling miserable, Tegan grabbed 2 glasses of wine and started drinking heavily, thanking the open bar. Later that night, clothes and undergarments lay scattered across the floor. Tegan's black dress was abandoned on the wooden floor. The next morning, Tegan woke up with messy makeup, bruised lips, and a pounding headache. Realizing she was naked under the blanket, she panicked and screamed. She was in bed with Heath. Shocked, she yanked the blanket and demanded answers. Both of them yelled in confusion. Flashbacks revealed the truth. They hadn't actually had sex. They had gotten extremely drunk, stumbled into his apartment, and passed out on the floor after clumsy, failed attempts, ending up tangled together under a blanket. In the morning, the tension between them quickly turned flirtatious again. Heath proposed a situationship, a casual arrangement where he could give her everything Lenny couldn't, with no strings attached. Tegan was tempted, but hesitant. The chemistry between them was undeniable, even as they continued arguing. Later, Tegan tried asking Lenny to pretend they were still together for an upcoming family party. He mocked her and refused. Their argument ended with Tegan spilling milk across the cafe counter in frustration. Meanwhile, Heath was aggressively working out at the gym when he received a text from Tegan. "Are you free tomorrow?" He smirked, knowing she would eventually come back to him. In a sunlit cafe on the corner of a busy street, Heath sat alone at the counter, fingers buried in his hair as he tried to quiet the storm in his head. He kept reminding himself this was only about the deal, nothing more, nothing that touched the parts of him he had buried 5 years ago. His tattooed arm rested on the wooden counter, while his leather bag sat beside him like a silent witness. 5 years ago, she used to text him at the strangest hours, teasing him, calling him stupid. Back then, he had no idea those messages would one day become memories he revisited alone. A car door slammed outside. Through the window, Heath saw her step onto the sidewalk, and for a second, the whole world stopped. There she was, dark sunglasses, sunlight wrapping around her like she had stepped out of a dream he was never meant to wake from. She moved with that same effortless confidence. He watched her press the key fob, heard the soft beep of her car, and felt his heart tighten. Heath stood frozen, whispering to himself not to ruin this. He had only one chance to get her back into his life. He quickly checked himself, and even sniffed his shirt, suddenly nervous like a boy again. The cafe door swung open. She stepped inside, her presence filling the room before her eyes found him. He smiled and waved like an idiot, happy to see her, as if nothing painful had ever come between them. Tegan froze for a second, pressing a hand to her forehead. His cheerful wave always did something to her that she refused to acknowledge. She stopped him before he could speak, snatched his card with that bold attitude that always disarmed him, and asked quietly if he was still the same Heath she once knew. Just like that, she walked away, leaving him stunned. He watched from behind as she ordered her almond milk like a queen reclaiming her throne. Heath rested his chin on his hands, smiling softly, the kind of smile only she could pull from him. When she returned with her coffee, she teased him for not buying her anything, proving she still loved keeping him on his toes. Her expression softened. "I've been thinking about what you said." Her fingers brushed her lips as she searched for the right words. She reached into her bag, pulled out her tablet, and slid it toward him. Maybe, just maybe, this thing between us could actually work. Heath blinked in surprise. She had written everything down, official, just like her. Side by side, they reviewed the document as she warned him not to be shocked by what he was about to read. She presented her plan like a tiny lawyer, the Hargrove Reynolds Situationship contract. The arrangement would run from June 1st through August 31st. She laid out clear rules, what they would and wouldn't do. Heath smirked and reminded her he already knew what sex was. She replied calmly, "Good to know." She emphasized that satisfaction had to be equal. If not, the agreement could be terminated. Full secrecy. No shared meals, no romantic gestures, no jealousy, no ghosting, no catching feelings. Heath read through the rules, occasionally teasing her that they sounded a bit cliché, but he respected every single one. They compared calendars, scheduling Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Heath tried sneaking in Sundays for stress relief. Tegan shut it down, but he still managed to add a secret block labeled Sexy Time with Heath. After some back and forth, they settled on a 12-hour notice rule for extra time. When Heath asked if she thought this was a doctor's office, she just smiled, clearly enjoying his shock. They discussed protection, her IUD, and the final rule about other relationships. If either found someone else, the arrangement would end, or could be paused. Heath stared at the tablet for a long moment, then looked up with a soft smile. You realize how insane this is, right? Tegan fired back. Do you want to spend the summer with me or not? Without another word, he signed. She stood up, adjusted her sunglasses, and looked down at him with calm certainty. As she walked away, she glanced over her shoulder and said with a teasing smile, "See you at 8 o'clock." Later that evening, Heath lay sprawled across his sofa in the blue glow of his apartment, restless and bored. He groaned loudly into the silence. The clock ticked slowly, mocking him. Unable to wait any longer, he dropped to the floor and started doing push-ups, then tried meditating on his yoga mat. Nothing worked. His patience finally snapped. Just as he growled in frustration, his phone buzzed. At 7:58, it was his dad. He ignored it. Then another message came, and suddenly he was sprinting across the loft, leaping over the coffee table and waiting by the door. Tegan walked in wearing an elegant black dress, long dark curls framing her face. She slipped off her white heels and told him to make it quick. He stepped closer with a confident smirk. That's not a problem. He lifted her chin, brushed his hand along her hip, and whispered that she seemed nervous. She denied it, but reminded him he had bragged he could finish the job in 5 minutes. He sank to his knees in front of her, strong hands on her thighs. Tegan's head tilted back, breath ragged, as she gasped that she was close. Not yet, he murmured, with a seductive grin. Later, after they finished, Heath stood half-naked and breathless, tightening his belt with a smug smile. A little more than 5 minutes, he chuckled. Tegan adjusted her dress, picked up her bag, and gave him a slow, confident smile. I guess you did okay. Before leaving, she glanced back over her shoulder. See you Wednesday? Yeah, my place. She shot him a teasing warning to be on time, then walked out. Heath stood there shirtless, smirking, until his phone buzzed again. The message read, "We need to talk. It's happening again." He whispered to himself, Wednesday can't come soon enough. The sky shifted into a starry night as a purple SUV pulled up to a grand iron gate. Inside, Tegan sat gripping the steering wheel, nibbling her fingernail nervously. Her mother had been blowing up her phone. She sighed. Can't avoid it anymore. Let's get this over with. The family mansion glowed with fairy lights and a lively garden party. Tegan arrived in a white halter dress with blue flowers. Her brother, in his wheelchair, waved excitedly, and his tall partner hugged her warmly. But the moment her parents appeared, the anxiety hit. "Where's Lenny?" her father asked curiously. Tegan smiled awkwardly, touching her hair. Her parents pull her into the crowd and present her the same way they always do. The brilliant daughter, the future lawyer, the future asset to the firm. To everyone else, it probably sounds like praise. But to Tegan, it feels like packaging, like pressure, like she is being described as a future investment instead of a person. Trying to get away from all that scrutiny, she slips off with her brothers for a drink. But even that does not last, because then Lenny shows up with another woman on his arm. And with that, the breakup stops being private. Now it is public, visible, social, something people can see and interpret and quietly turn into gossip. The pressure does not end at the party either. It carries straight into a family dinner afterward, where Tegan's father treats the breakup as more than just a personal issue. To him, it is a threat to the future, a disruption, a problem tied to the firm, to appearances, to plans that were supposed to stay neat and useful. And by the end of the night, Tegan is cornered from every direction. Family pressure, social humiliation, the ugly fallout with Lenny, and the suffocating sense that everyone wants something from her, except honesty. So when she reaches for the one thing that currently feels uncomplicated, it makes sense that her mind goes straight to Heath. Messy? Yes. Risky? Absolutely. But uncomplicated in one very specific way. With Heath, at least, she does not have to pretend that a bag full of air is somehow enough.